So, how to inspire in a time of great resignation? The answer to that, or getting closer to the answer, is coming right now in the form of somebody who we've already met a few times this week on HR Week 2021, and a great friend and supporter of the community, Global VP of HR of Fluke Health Solutions, Anna Stojanovic. Anna, are you there?
I'm here. Good morning,
Wonderful.
good
You're
afternoon,
always there
everybody.
with us. You're always there. Now, what time of the morning is it right now?
It is 6 a.m. again.
It's always crazy early morning, but that shows the dedication Anna has in terms of joining us here at HR Week. Listen, I'm going to hand it over to you
Thank
again.
you.
So you know the drill. Towards the end, hopefully people will share their questions with us in the chat, and I'll be able to ask those for you. Take it away,
I
Anna.
have to ask you, since it's so early, we had Thanksgiving last night. If I stop making sense, just jump in, interrupt, and take
With
over,
pleasure.
okay? So, thank you. Great. Hi, everybody. Great to be with you. I hope everybody has enjoyed this week so far. We have just a few speakers left, I think, to look forward to. I sure am, and I've been enjoying from afar, and so happy to be with you today. So my name is Anna Stojanovic, and today I will be talking about how do we inspire during the Great Resignation. So let me try to move to the next slide. If I can, let's see. Okay, so today's agenda, I'll introduce myself briefly. We'll set the stage in terms of what is the Great Resignation, because I know for some folks, this is a term that they know, for some it's not. We are gonna talk a little bit about it, as well as why it is important for the global audience that we have here, and why is it happening in the first place. And then most importantly, and as Peter said, how to solve for this, how to inspire during these times. Now, I'm not going to claim I have solutions. If I did, I would be a billionaire probably, but I'll try my best, and I hope you all get something out of it. So very briefly about me, you can see my work history where I sort of lived and what I studied. But I was born and raised in Serbia. Most of my schooling and my work has been outside of Serbia. I did have a wonderful time earlier this year. I spent 6 months with my family in Serbia, and it was just so soul feeling, and big hugs to all of my Serbian folks today on the call. And then other than that, what I would say is I'm a mom of 6-year-old twins. And so this is why I deeply care about leadership and how we show up in the world and what kind of impact we have. Because quite frankly, I want to leave as much as I can a good legacy and a better place for my kids in whatever capacity I can. So, I don't want to get too emotional on this, but let's move on. So what is Great Resignation? Great Resignation, or Big Quit, as they call it, is a term that actually originated in the US about April of this year. And that's when we started seeing a big number of employees just leaving their jobs. You can see the chart from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics in the far left corner, where it shows every 5 years the data. And, in 2021, in September, you can see this huge spike from April, where about every month we have 4.5 million people leave the workforce. And so it's a huge number. That is also becoming a global trend. So if you're thinking, is this just the US? Now, this is from Washington Post from October. We are seeing similar trends. I know for sure in India, but as well as EMEA, European countries. That is. We see it in China. We see it in Latin American countries. So I think it's picking up. And if you're still not sort of like, well, I don't see it, then just think about your own turnover, right? And so if you have turnover that is just a little bit higher, or it's trending up, and you're not sure why, then maybe you're not alone. Maybe this is some of the reasons, and maybe this can be helpful to you. And if you're still not convinced, and you're thinking about, well, I don't have a high turnover, which is great for you. I hope that some of the leadership lessons that I will share today could be useful to you, because I do feel all of our workforce, wherever we are, has been through a lot. And so that's how I tailored this presentation to be useful for that. So in terms of macro trends, what we are seeing in terms of Great Resignation is that it's happening mostly among mid-career employees, so people who are 30 to 45 years old. We have resignations, they're highest in the tech and healthcare industries. And guess what? My company is both tech and healthcare. So here I am talking about this. No wonder, right? Resignations are highest among people who started their new jobs in the last 2 years. And I would say this one, as I looked at the data, just on a macro level, but also for our company, this one did not surprise me, because those are mostly folks who started during COVID, mostly remotely, mostly never met anybody in person, never went to office or have any sort of exposure to culture other than team meetings, Zoom meetings. And so that sort of speaks a little bit more about how do we solve for better onboarding and so on. Okie dokie. So I keep clicking this thing. Okay, here we go. So now if we think about why this is happening, and let me tell you, there's so many theories out there about why this is happening. There's also like conspiracy theories that it's not happening. And so like, I'm not gonna argue today whether it's happening or not. I just pulled two bigger studies that have been done so far, considering that it's only been since April. So Gallup has done a study with a bunch of folks, and they found the top 5 reasons that they listed are for people that are leaving are the desire to have a better work-life balance. I don't think that's surprising to anybody. Increased workload for employees, especially post-pandemic. People are expected to do more. Bad leadership, and just 60% of their jobs of employees said that they left their jobs because they weren't happy with their manager. No career advancement opportunity, and then experiencing burnout. On the flip side, McKinsey found these factors. So the top 3 that they listed is that employees are not feeling appreciated by their organization, number 1, by their manager, number 2, and they're not feeling the sense of belonging at work. And then there is this term which is coming up, and I sort of heard of it recently, and I don't know if you know it, but it's called YOLO economy. So it's you only live once economy, and it's mostly driven by millennial and part of Gen Z workforce. And what this means is that they're leaving their corporate jobs and starting their own businesses. And it's sort of like, after pandemic, you only live once. I don't want to waste my time in meetings from 9 to 5 or whatever it is. And so, leaving the workforce, starting. And so I mean, I don't want to portray this as like big, oh, this is so horrible, because I think there is wonderful things like new businesses and new entrepreneurs coming out of this. But it is something that we want to ensure that we, and I'm just okay, great, you can see me, that we are addressing for the things that we can address, and that we don't lose people that we don't want to lose. Okay. Moving on, and again, I hope I learned by the end of presentation. Okay, so in summary, what I would say is that people are exhausted and they're not inspired. So that's what I feel. That's what I feel they are right now. When you think about the spark that we have about work, it's simply not on. And I sometimes say, like, it's kind of like the switch is off. We don't have that thrill. We don't have that excitement. And so, what do we do with that? And let me see if this animation is going to work, because, oh, it doesn't. Okay, that's okay. So it was interesting when I started looking for images of leader in preparation for this. All the just let me see if I can share the slides my way so that you can actually see. Just give me one moment. No, I don't. So anyway, the thing was, when I looked up the slides, when I looked up the leader image, everything that popped up was like this, superhuman. Everybody's carrying a flag for some reason. They're dragging people along. Everybody's sort of celebrating. And that was, when I looked at leader in Google, when I looked at images for inspired leader in Google, that's what's coming up. But reality for many of us is actually this image that you're seeing here. It's many folks had to handle multiple things and be overwhelmed and inspire people at the same time. And so there is definitely a disconnect between what we consider to be a leader and at the same time how the reality that we are experiencing right now. And one interesting thing is I actually looked up empathetic leadership or vulnerable leadership just to see what kind of images would come there. And the only one that came up, and I swear you can check in Google, that was somewhat relevant, is these two colleagues kind of giving a hug to each other. And that was it. Like that, there was nothing else, right? So that was just interesting in my in my search for those images. So now let's talk about how to inspire. And to me, it comes to kind of three different sections. Number one, it's all about humanity. And so I would pose to you today that in this day and age, in terms of leadership, in terms of how we show up, and for the future, vulnerability, humility, and kindness are the competitive advantages. If you asked me a few years ago, what am I looking for in a good leader? How am I would be saying things like, well, they need to be really strategic, and they need to be delivering results. Still the case, right? They need to do that. But that's almost a given. What now I think people who are showing up as great leaders are the ones who are not afraid to be vulnerable, who are not afraid to be humble and learn from their people, listen to their people, learn when they are wrong, and be kind. I can't tell you, and this goes for everybody, but not just for leaders, but when you think about the last 2 years, the emails that are impatient, the intolerance that we've seen among one another, I tell you, people who are simply kind, they stand out. It's so interesting. I mean, they're the ones, whether they're leaders or their employees, they're noticed. They're more noticed. They are more promoted. They're more talked about. So I would say, take this out of this presentation, that vulnerability, humility, or humbleness and kindness is today's competitive advantage. When it comes to value-based decision-making, this is something I talk about often, and I think there's a few folks from my team on the call, so I apologize because they hear me all the time. But I ask typically a couple of questions around this. And first is like, what do you stand for? If I'm to summarize you in 2 words, what are those words for you? For me, they're love and courage. And when I get all wrapped up, when I am I have too much going on, or I have a really tough decision to make, that's where I pull back. I see that I am just frantic a little bit, to just be blunt. And then I ask myself, okay, how would I approach this same thing, but just with my values through the eyes of being courageous. So through courage and with a little bit more love. And there's usually a shift in me. So it's not that I don't make a tough decision. God knows I have to and I do, but I approach it differently and people respond to it differently because I feel like myself and I show up authentically and in the way that I want to lead and the legacy that I want to leave. So I would say that culture of humanity is so important right now. And I hope that inspires you. Burnout is contagious, and be aware of that. There is a study that found that people have, if the leader is burned out, peers are burned out, employees are burned out. It's kind of like a contagious thing. And so, lead by example. Take a damn break, go on vacation, right? Relentlessly prioritize for yourself and your team. Because if you don't want to do it for yourself and you're saying, well, I'm just too busy, this quarter is crazy, then do it for your team. Because otherwise, everybody's going to finish like this picture on the right. And then the last one is this culture of appreciation. John F. Kennedy had a great quote here. We must find time to stop and thank the people who make a difference in our lives. If Kennedy had time for that, we all do. One tip that I practice particularly is when I go into a meeting with somebody, I think that they may be thinking, do you see me? Like, am I just jumping into this meeting with people and driving my agenda? Or I'm actually spending a little bit of time to see that person. And so I open my meetings with, what's on your mind? And they tell me, or they don't, but they have at least this space to do that. And then finally, be in tune with what's in people's mind. I think we're all a little bit tired of these all hands that are a little bit tone deaf. And, leadership is saying one thing and what's on people's mind and what people are worrying about is the other. Be respectful of people's time and know what they care about and what they care about hearing. And so what I want to leave you with is, Brené Brown, I'm a big fan of hers. She has wonderful, wonderful stuff on vulnerability. Vulnerability sounds like if you want to know if you're being authentic leader versus, a little bit fake and a little bit putting on a show. It sounds like truth and it feels like courage. And it's not comfortable and it's not about winning or losing, but it's having the courage to show up when you can't control the outcome. And right now, many of us, we just can't control the outcome, right? And so inspired leadership requires vulnerability. Do we have the courage to show up, to be seen, take risks, ask for help, own our mistakes, learn from failure, lean into joy? And can we support the people around us in doing the same? And that's how we turn the spark back on. So this is how you stay in touch with me, if you will. And thank you so much. Turning over for Q&A.
Wonderful, great, really great insights.
I'm gonna speed up this. She's back on. I can see it.
I'm back. Yeah, absolutely. Great, really great insights. And it's intriguing what you said about vulnerability, humility, kindness, showing that great leaders or recent great leaders really stand out better when they're showing one of these three or all of these three. And I imagine through COVID, it's kind of we notice it even more because that is really what we appreciate more, the empathy and people listening to us more. So it's intriguing that you say that. So we've got one question here. Who is to blame more for the high resignation amongst people who started their jobs in the last 2 years, lack of culture because of remote work, or higher pressure that companies put on them since COVID?
I think both of those reasons play a role. I think what's a little bit more relevant, and I hear echo. I hope you guys don't hear echo. I hope you hear me okay.
We're good.
Yeah, I would say for the folks in the last 2 years, what I have found, and I can at least speak for my company, I don't want to make this just vast generalization, is more the fact that they just the onboarding, right? So they didn't get integrated too much, and this is not for everybody, but the folks, and so you get the pressure, but you don't have, you know, your peers, your buddies to laugh it off, to kind of take some of that pressure away, because you're still not, you're not feeling part of it. So I would say probably the first one would be mine.
Okay, listen, we're gonna wrap it up there, and it's always a
No,
pleasure. Always a pleasure
I
to
just
talk to
started.
you. Sure, we could have a whole.
I know.
We should
I
do
keep on
Anna
going.
week, Anna HR
Anna.
week, just Anna for a whole week.
What a
I
great
mean,
idea, Peter.
what a great well, I'll be okay with that. I'm not sure everybody would like that. Anyway, but listen, thanks so much, and also thank you so much for all your energy and hard work in really, as part of our program, a program director, really helping the event find and bring in speakers and people that can really share their ideas and insights in the many sessions that we've had. So again, another person who's very, very important in this HR week story. So we thank you so much for that. Thank you for your session, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Intriguing, huh? Some intriguing stuff. So humility, kindness, vulnerability, these are the things that certainly from Anna's point of view, leaders stand out. They really stand out by showing these right now and moving forwards. Quite interesting food for thought. We move on now to our next session, and this is about to start. It's essentially leadership principles in Microsoft.